Sandy Garcia, and I am a platform software developer in the TRIRIGA group. And I'm going to talk about a few of the security enhancements that were made for 3.5. Here's the agenda. We'll briefly go over security in general. We'll talk about some of the changes to security framework. Talk about the security manager changes. A new data source that was added for security. Data security and instance level security. We'll talk about how the builders, the UX builders are secured, and a logging enhancement. Classic TRIRIGA security is given via security groups. Users are given access to objects based on the security groups and the licenses they have in their profile. In the security manager, security groups are given license or access to objects. So, for instance, modules, the modules and forms, actions, builders, like the data modeler. Licenses are built into the TRIRIGA platform and are based on modules, business objects, and builders / applications / technology. For instance, like Kettle or the data modeler. Users must have license and security access to obtain access to an object. If a user is part of more than one group, a member of more than one group, the permissions are aggregated to the most permissive level. For instance, if a user has read access in one group, but is also a member of a group that gives access to the object, create, update, and delete, the user will have create, update, and delete access, as long as they have a license that also gives them access to that object. Licenses are always checked, regardless of the user. The system user has all the licenses that are on the server. But even that system user will not have access to CAD integrator functionality if the CAD integrator license is not available on that server. Security checks are skipped on the admin group user. So if you have the admin group as one of your groups, security is checked. Security checks are skipped. We do have instance level security, which is on geography and organization, which means that you can restrict user access to records based on the geography and organization that the user's group belongs to and the records involved. If set, members of a security group will be able to see records at that level in the hierarchy and below. There is also some security that exists on reports and documents. For UX, we've added a bunch of new metadata. The UX application is the main entry, and it has a model and a view. The model is what controls the data. As such, that is where security and licensing has been placed. They both are on the model. UX security is enforced in many places, including the navigation, so the portal or menu. When you attempt to open or use a UX application or link, when you try and do an action within a UX application, or when you attempt to create, update, or delete through a UX application. UX licensing, because it is built into the platform, is done at the model level. All are known to the shipping application are built into the shipping license table. We will do explicit checks for licenses for the models that are there. If the model does not exist in the license table, for instance, it is a customer-created application, the licensing will be enforced at the data source level. So for this example here, there are 7 data sources. The user must have license to all of those data sources within the model to be able to access the model. So the user would need to have license access to TRI-asset, to location building, to TRI-space allocation, space assessment, and so on. UX security, since it is changeable through the security manager, it is done totally at the model level. Access to the model is based on the model permissions, which you can set in the security manager. We do not need to go down to the data source to check whether a user has access to a model or not. Actions, which come from the data source, are also secured in the security manager. A user will get yes, no permission for each action in the model. This includes all actions from all data sources in the model. UX actions can be a state transition action. If that's the case, it does not matter what the state transition action permissions are. The permissions set on the model will override. Admin group users will have read, update, create, and delete permissions on all models and access to all actions. In the security manager, where you set user group access to models, there's now a new node in the tree called models known to the server will be under that node. If you select one of those models, you will be able to set access for the security group for that model. You can set the model access and then all the actions. It is supported by object migration, so you can move these between different servers. The model security is internally implemented by system tri-model permissions, and as such, no security group should have access to this object. There is a new data source similar to other data sources in UX called the Security Information Data Source, which will provide security information of the current user to the model. This can be used to alter application views based on a user permission. Say you want to hide a field or disable an action button based on the user's permissions. Programming details are discussed in detail in Article 4, Navigating UX. What are the new security options? This will show you how you can program your HTML to use the security data source. Data is secured through the models based on security group settings. It is also secured through the data source's query association filters. It is important that data sources only provide what the user has access to. Keep this in mind when creating your own applications. There is also a way to enable context security on the model. It is a setting in the model designer, and this will ensure that data that the user is actually viewing came from a data source. Instance level security is still done on geography and organization and is enforced through the data source and the queries. See the table in the application building guide for different scenarios based on the system organization or the system geography. The UX builders are licensed and secured just like any other builder. In the Security Manager, you can give access to the UX builders, like the Model and View Builder or the Model Builder. You can give no access or full access by selecting the object. But since the UX builders are form-based, you also need to give access to the model form, which is the tri-platform meta module. For 3.5, we added a logging enhancement. It is very irritating when you get that you do not have permission to access this page. Please contact your administrator with no information as to why you're getting this. It is very difficult to determine why a user does not have access to functionality. In 3.5, we have added logging to explain why the user request was rejected because of security or license. The information is logged to the security log, and this will happen for both UX and classic requests. That's about it. Reference material includes the application building guide, which has been updated for the changes in 3.5. Also, there are some UX articles, including Article 4, which has a lot of information regarding security changes. There is also an article in DeveloperWorks that might help. Thank you for attending and have a nice day.